Well, welcome to the podcast, David. We are absolutely thrilled to have you here today.
Good to
And
be here.
yeah, why don't we just kick it off with something that you said on one of our coaching calls really struck me. You said that you can spot patterns in the universe.
Hmm.
And I want to know how you knew that you had that power, what it means to you. Tell me about spotting patterns in the universe.
I don't spot them that often, but when I do, it's the light bulb moment, so to speak. So, the first time I was aware that I was spotting a pattern in the universe that was really, really important was probably about 20 years ago. And everybody at that time was talking about marketing on the web as being banner advertisements. And if you remember back to that time, that this would have been the late 1990s ish. That at that time, everyone was saying, oh, do a banner ad and you're going to be good to go and on your web marketing. Well, I was fortunate that in my early career, I worked in the real-time news business. I worked for companies like Dow Jones and Thomson Reuters. And so I understood, prior to the web, I understood the idea of real-time information, real-time communications. So when the web did come around, I recognized it as a way that organizations could create content. And my gosh, the pattern in the universe I noticed was that great web marketing is not spending money on advertising to get your business in front of people on other people's real estate, but rather it's about creating your own content. Now, that was before social media, but in the form of blogs or great websites. And I started to write about that starting in about 2001. And that became essentially the background for the book that came out in 2007 called The New Rules of Marketing and PR, which still to this day is the best-selling book about online marketing in the world. It's now in the 8th edition. It's in 29 languages. And that pattern that I saw was kind of remarkable. And so I'm always constantly on the lookout for a similar kind of pattern that I'm not saying I'm the only one who sees it, but I'm the only one who's written about it at the time I write about it.
So amazing. And, I was less familiar with you when we started working together. Steve was like, you're going to meet this amazing person. I want him as our book coach. Like, we're going to do this stuff. And the thing that I have really just come to admire about you is that you've been able to carve out such a beautiful space for yourself in a very noisy industry, a noisy world. But even in that first meeting, I kind of figured out why.
Ooh, tell me how.
You have this ability just to connect with the person in front of you and build such an authentic relationship.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I mean, it's, we love you. I got off that call and I was just like, send him our money, give him all our money.
Give him all our money.
Which is
Nice.
kind of what entrepreneurs, it's the dream of all entrepreneurs, where I've said this to so many people about you. Like, I love paying you for what you have given us and infused in this project. But I think what I'm curious about is there's so many people out there that think relationships, building them, making an authentic connection, whether it's with the person on Zoom across from you, or in your case, with thousands of people in an audience, people think that that's just a natural skill. And they don't treat it like a practice. And I have a sense that this is something that probably did come naturally to you in some ways, but I'm curious about how you cultivated this beautiful skill and your practice, if you're willing to share with us.
Great question. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, a couple of things come to mind around this. The first one is something that I decided a long time ago, was that a couple of things that I decided a long time ago around my own business. One of them was I don't want to build a team. I don't want to become big. I want to just be me and be able to serve as many people as I can in as many ways as I can. And the second thing I decided really early on is that life is too short to work for jerks. So I've put myself out into the universe, to use language that you might use. I've put myself out to the universe in a way that I'm inviting people who might want to work with me to raise their hand and say, yeah, I think I want to work with you, and let's have a conversation. What I don't do is go out there and hustle business. In 20 years of running my own business, I have never once made a sales call. I have never once went out and pitched business. I put myself out there in the universe with the expectation, and for 20 years it's proven true, that some people might want to consume my free content, my blog posts, my social media feeds. Some people might want to take the leap of spending $20 to buy one of my books, and fortunately 1 million people have. And maybe somebody might want to take the leap of hiring me to speak at their event, or like you did and Steve did, and said, hey, maybe this is somebody we might want to have a deeper relationship with. So I always try to be present with who I'm engaging with at that time. And I look for people that I want to work with. I very often say no to people. I don't want to work with them. And when I had conversations with both of you, it's like, yeah, this feels good. It feels like fun. It feels like a fun book to work on. It feels like a great couple to spend some time with on Zoom and one day hopefully in person. So those are the sorts of the things that go through my mind. But another thought related to this is a lot of people talk about work-life balance. I don't think really about work-life balance. To quote Tony Robbins from what he said on Wednesday, I actually spoke at his conference on Thursday, the Business Mastery Conference. Life's not about work-life balance, it's about work-life integration. And I think about that a lot. Right now, this conversation or working with you or the other things I'm doing that's work today doesn't feel like work to me. It's stuff that I want to do, stuff that's fun. And I happily say no to many, many, many things that I don't want to do. But when I say yes, I'm there, I'm present, and those are the things I want to do.
That's cool. So your approach to relationship building is to build the business in a way that aligns with the business that you want to have, which is one where you aren't working with jerks, you're loving the people you're with, and you're kind of building your dream as you go.
Yes. And what I always tell my wife is I don't make decisions based on money. I don't make decisions based on how much something will pay, how much a project might pay, how much a speaking engagement might pay, how much a coaching engagement might pay. It's not the way I think about it. I think about, is this going to be a fun experience? Is this going to provide value to the universe? Is this going to be something that will be enjoyable for a couple of days or a couple of months or whatever it might be? And therefore, I will frequently turn down a highly lucrative speaking engagement because that's not something that seems interesting to me, and I'll accept something that will not bring as much money into the bank account, but we'll be working with a group of really fun people. I'll do that any day of the week. And ironically, that approach has probably brought in more money than if I had done the other way anyway, because interesting business comes my way, and I turn that into how I support my family in a way that works really, really, really well for me. So, I mean, it's a lot of what you have been writing about and what I've been learning about your work is push great stuff out into the universe, and the universe gives back. So push love into the universe. The universe gives love back, and push a fun loving attitude to the universe, and you get fun loving clients in return. So that's worked well for me for a number of years, and I'm going to stick with it.
So good. I mean, I think it sort of flies in the face of something I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing, which is like the compartmentalization of like, I've got to like fixate on the work hours versus now I'm here with my kids.
Yeah.
And they spend so much energy. If it's all fun, if it's all what you really want to be doing, if it's all interesting, and you make your whole life that way, the other stuff just doesn't vibrate.
Right.
Doesn't really tend to like come into that field.
At least for me, that's absolutely worked. And it's also worked for my daughter, Reiko. She's my co-author in this book we wrote called Fanocracy. I know you guys have both poked around a little bit with the book. Yep, there's a copy right here. We wrote this book, I think starting about 7 years ago. Reiko was in medical school at the time. She's now an emergency room doctor at Boston Medical Center. And as we were writing and researching this book, one of the most surprising things we learned about building fans is that people are attracted to people who have passion for something. And this was really surprising to both of us. And the passion doesn't have to have anything to do with the work that's actually being done. And so what I noticed, and you just kind of talked about this, Aaron, is the idea that so many people have built a brick wall between this is my business life, and my business life is serious, and my business life is conducted on LinkedIn, and my business life is important. And over here, we're having fun, and we're out with my family and having fun, and we're going with my friends, and this is on Instagram, and yay. That's weird to me. Putting them all together is not weird to me. I got a Grateful Dead logo over my shoulder and a Grateful Dead logo on my sweater. My favorite band, I've seen them 91 times. It's kind of silly. I wrote a book about them with Brian Halligan, the co-founder and executive chairman of HubSpot, and Bill Walton, the NBA Basketball Hall of Famer, called Marketing Lessons from the Grateful Dead. Yeah, it's fun. Business is and should be fun. Reiko, when she goes into she's in the emergency department at Boston Medical Center now in her 3rd year of residency, she'll wear sometimes a pin or even a t-shirt over her scrubs of the Boston Bruins, the sports team she loves. And she'll talk about K-pop or Harry Potter, the thing she's a fan of. That makes people like me and people like her open to the universe, who shows when we show that we've got passion for something. And in the business world, that's so rare, because so many people feel like they need to be professional. Now we're going to be professional, and we have to wait till 5 o'clock until we can have fun. That's not for me. I want my entire life to be fun. And I think for those who work in that way of making their entire life fun, even if they work for a big company or even big companies that adopt that idea, it can be great.
Yeah, that's brilliant. One of the questions that I had was, you embrace your, I'm going to say quirkiness, right? Your interests. You take a look at the selfies, like you don't have like a strong guy pose. You're just like, hey, it's more of a Gumby pose than a like power pose.
Uh-huh.
And my question was like, what, and even the titles of your book and your work, right? You do these cool portmanteaus of newsjacking and Fanocracy. You write books about your favorite band. Rather than saying, well, my quirky human self needs to live on this side of the wall, and then I'll just like do business the way business is done. You kind of bring that into your business life. What helped you kind of get over the cultural programming of be a professional, right? Look the part of a marketing guy.
It helped that I was fired 3 different times from 3 different corporate gigs. I didn't work very well in a corporate environment. I didn't play well around the idea of corporate politics. It's not the way my brain was wired. Even though I was successful, I rose to be Asia marketing director of a division of what became Thomson Reuters and so on, and was vice president of marketing of 2 different technology companies here in the States. So I was successful with it, but I eventually would implode because I didn't work well in that rigid kind of environment. Now, there's nothing wrong if somebody does work well in that kind of corporate environment. I know a number of people who thrive in that world of corporate politics, but it didn't for me. So I realized I had to embrace what I was good at, what the universe had in mind for me, than just trying to be the corporate drone, which wasn't working so well for me. And fortunately, my wife was very supportive when I decided I wanted to go on my own, and I recognized that if I took this path, that I need to totally embrace it and not try to do some kind of weird hybrid where I was kind of having fun, but I also kind of wanted to become a corporate, be in the corporate world. I was like, one or the other, just do it. And I decided to embrace what I think the universe has in store for me that I'm good at.
Okay, this is everything, and I want to kind of dive into that. I think about business as being one of the most ultimate spiritual practices. Like, I also do yoga. You can, if you can contort your body into weird positions and still breathe, that's one way. Meditation's another way. But I think going out on your own when it's so against the grain, it reveals so much about our strengths, our weaknesses, who we are, who we're trying to be, what we're trying to prove. And I'm curious, because it kind of, the way you talk about it, it sounds like it's been a spiritual transformation in some ways for you. And I would just kind of love to know what did you learn about yourself in those early years, when it maybe wasn't like going to speak at Tony Robbins events and writing bestseller books?
It was interesting because when I first went out on my own, which was in the middle of 2001, it's a horrible time to try to start a business. It was a horrible time to try to begin a new job, because 9/11 had just happened and nobody knew what in the world was going on. I mean, we had, America had just been attacked, and people were losing their jobs, and it was not a good time. And that's when I chose to go out on my own. And when I first did it, I created a very corporate approach to becoming a consultant. And what I did was I created fresh spot marketing, and I used we. I said, we do this and we do that. And I had, I think there might have been one picture, like in the about section near the end, of me, maybe in a coat and tie. And I was essentially taking what I knew of the corporate world and just doing it independently as a chief marketing officer for hire. And I did okay. I had some clients, but it just wasn't feeling right. It wasn't feeling like it was me. And it was a couple years later that I don't know why this came into my mind, but I said, you know what? This really isn't working for me. So I completely changed, got rid of the name Fresh Spot Marketing. I still have that as my business name, but I never used it again to describe who I was. I got rid of the royal we and said I. I went with the website davidmeermanscott.com rather than freshspot.com. I used FreshSpot to redirect to davidmeermanscott.com. And I went out on my own and really properly went out on my own and said, you're not hiring some nebulous marketing agency, you're hiring me. And this is who I am. And these are my quirks. And this is my personality. And this is what I'm good at. And this is what I'm not good at. And then that was when then I started to say, I've got some ideas to share here. I started my blog in 2005 and started to get my ideas out into the universe and my own personal ideas. And then we talked earlier about this pattern in the universe that I saw, and I started to write about that a lot. And then that turned into some books. So I think it was just recognizing that I had to embrace who I was, that it wasn't really going to work in a way that was sustainable if I did it a different way. I'm guessing had I chosen to continue down the path of the royal we, and I'm a marketing agency and so on, I probably would have filtered back into the corporate world in some form or fashion. But fortunately, I figured out that I had to embrace me, and that worked really well.
I love it. So cool.
That's awesome. So I want to know about your own story of transformation. So you mentioned your transformation from corporate guy to icon marketing thought leader. You also had a transformation from sort of average lifestyle to very healthy person. Can you tell us a little bit about what drove that change and what that was like?
Sure, absolutely. So I remember distinctly around my 50th birthday, the universe sent me some wake-up calls. And to me, it was super clear what was happening. So the first thing that happened was, sadly, two of my friends who were my age passed away from essentially bad health. And wow, that was pretty scary. This was around my 50th birthday. Then the second thing that happened was I call it my 50,000 mile checkup. I went to the doctor and he said, you're doing okay, but I might want to put you on a couple of meds. Some of your numbers are creeping up in the wrong direction. I was like, oh my gosh, what? A medicine to control something I can control myself? I don't know about that. And then it was literally my 50th birthday, the day, and I looked in the mirror, I was naked, and I said, oh boy, I need to fix that. I was 65 pounds heavier than I am today. And I wasn't healthy. I wasn't exercising. I was doing a little bit of elliptical here and there, but I wasn't properly exercising. And I am a surfer. I was surfing then, but I wasn't able to go into the waves like I had wanted to go into the waves. So I made a change, and I actually didn't plan it. I didn't say, like, when I was 49, on my 50th birthday, I'm going to start an exercise program, start eating right. I didn't at all. It was like these signposts I noticed in the two months or so leading up to my birthday. Sadly, a couple of my friends passing away, and then seeing myself in the mirror on my birthday a couple of days before that, going to the doctor, and I just decided I need to make a change. I didn't tell my wife. I just didn't tell myself even. I just decided I was going to make a change. Bought some books about how to get healthy, about how to start an exercise program, how to eat right, and within about a year, dropped 50 pounds. And then over the course of the last, that was 12 years ago, over the course of the last 10 years or so, have steadily built more muscle, lost a little bit of fat. So I'm now 65 pounds lighter than I was, super strong. And, based on other people who are my age in their very early 60s, I can do a lot more than they can. I don't know very many people who are my age who can do six sets of 10 pull-ups, for example. And I'm proud of that. prior to my 50th birthday, I couldn't do any pull-ups. I literally could not do a pull-up. Like, I was too fat and not strong enough. And that's just one example of the fitness, but it's been transformational for everything because it's helped me to be a better speaker. It's helped me to be better at pretty much everything I do just by being able to be that much more healthy.
So was it just the like the wake up calls that you say kind of switched you from one track onto the other, never to look back again? Like what was the process like for you?
Well, I think it was the leading up to the birthday, and then it was that, I mean, 50 is like, oh boy, 50. Wow, that's crazy. I need to fix this now, which I did. But I mean, a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to get healthy and I'm going to eat right, I'm going to exercise, and it doesn't work. I recognized I had to make a lifestyle change. It had to be I had to be all in on this. And so what I said to myself that day was, I need to exercise every day. And I have. If I miss a day, I do doubles the next day or a couple days later. And in my case, what I do from an exercise perspective is that I mix it up over the course of the week. I do yoga once or twice a week. I do weights. Today was weights day. And the weights day includes pull-ups and push-ups. I do Pilates once or twice a day. I swim once or twice a day. And then in season and with availability, I hike, I mountain bike, I surf. And that works for me. Every day it's different. So I'm not doing 2 days in a row typically. So it keeps it interesting. And then with my wife's help, she's an awesome cook. I stopped eating starch. So bread, rice, pasta, beer, anything sort of starchy, cut it out. And that's all it took really to drop that weight, become fat and healthy. I become fit and healthy.
Okay, I'm noticing a theme, and I want to I want to kind of pull this out with the business examples as well that you've given us. You totally mix it up. You mix it up with your weight training and your yoga. You mix it up with how the different streams that are part of your business, writing books, doing talks, coaching, like all of these different things. And I kind of want to know, you've built something very successful without it being like a really strict, narrow niche, which I think a lot of the input we get from a lot of marketing people is you've got to be super, super duper niche. You can't, the one program, one thing, one platform. Doesn't seem to be the case for you. And I'm very curious about that.
Interesting observation. And I actually, when I was thinking about why I got fired 3 times when I was in the corporate world, might be related to your question. And that is, I get bored easily. And so I need to mix things up so I don't get bored. And so if I was only doing consulting, I would get bored. However, writing, so far I've done 13 books. I'm writing a 14th now. If I was only writing books, I would get bored. But writing books, giving speeches, doing some coaching, creating my own content on my blog and social networks, that's interesting to me because every day is a little bit different, and I can focus on the stuff that's fun for me. And I'm just thinking this through right now as you ask that question, and that's probably why I got fired a few times, is because the same silly job all the time was not the way that at least I personally operate. And then I ended up as well adopting that approach with what worked for me for exercise. Some people only run. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I'd go insane if I had to run every single day. So I think that worked for me, and I'm glad I figured that out with the exercise part, because nothing ever really stuck. I tried running a bunch of times. I had an elliptical I would try to get on a regular basis, but it bored me to tears. But mixing it up works.
You heard it here, folks. You
Makes
don't
it
have to rigidly only do one thing in any one area of your life. It's like, I think that that's something I really admire about you, is
Thank
that you let your passion, your interest be your business plan, be your life
Yes.
plan.
It's really funny that I know a bunch of very, very successful CEOs of billion-dollar companies. I know many famous musicians. I mean, I've had the honor of meeting some really super cool people, and almost everyone when they get to know who I am say, you've got the best job in the world. And I think that's true. I really do believe that. I've had people tell me who've got 3 houses, travel in corporate planes, have, ridiculous numbers of hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank, that they would rather have done what I did. So yeah, I think I'm chasing fun rather than chasing money. And that works for me, at least. I don't know if it works for everyone, but chasing fun works for me.
That's amazing. Okay. So what about when it's not fun? I want to hear about David's low days where he's like, oh, this thing. What do you do? Right? What do you ever have any static in your life? And if so, how do you handle it?
Oh, totally. Absolutely. 100%. I have static. And so, first of all, I try not to obsess about things I can't change, and see if I can make something good out of the things I can't change. I'll give you a good example. On Wednesday, as we're recording this, on Wednesday last week, I had to travel to Florida. And I arrived at the airport early. I like early flights at 5 a.m. And by the way, another thing about me, I do everything early. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I exercise, eat my breakfast early. I eat my lunch at like 11 o'clock. But I go to bed at 7:30 at night. It's like so early. I know it's ridiculous, but I do everything early.
Not to us. We go to bed at like 8:30. We're totally with you.
Okay, so you understand that. Yeah. It's weird to many people. Like, I'm going to bed when they're like just like having dinner. But anyway, I always try to take the first flight out in the morning when I have to fly somewhere. I'm at Boston Logan Airport. I live in the Boston area on Wednesday, and the entire American commercial air system is shut down, and I can't get to Florida. And some people get frustrated. Some people bitch and moan. Some people will go find someone to yell at. Some people get out their phone and are constantly trying to figure out, what can I do? What can I do to fix this? Can I go to another airline? Can I rent a car and drive there? And to me, I just kind of get in my Zen mode. It's like, I can't change it. So I'm just going to like go with the flow, go with it. And so then I said, well, how can I make this fun? So what I did was, I realized I'm at Logan at 5 for a flight that was supposed to depart at 5:30. This is an Eastern time. This is probably among the very first flights to depart in the United States, and the entire FAA system is shut down, Federal Aviation Administration. So then I went to the FAA website. There was nothing about the shutdown there. American Airlines, who I was flying with, said, FAA has just shut down the entire airspace. We don't know what's going to come out. It's going to be at least an hour. Oh, interesting. So I took out my phone. I took a picture of where I was, and I tweeted, and I said, roughly paraphrasing, hey, according to American Airlines, tagged them, the entire FAA system, tagged FAA at Boston, is shut down. I'm here at Boston Logan, tagged Boston Logan Airport, and we have no idea when any planes are going to fly. Put that out on Twitter with a photo at Logan, and then within an hour, I got requests to go live on television with NBC Television, ABC Television. The Boston Globe contacted me. I did an interview with them, and I went live using my phone, using Zoom, and was live on several television stations. So I was having fun with it. And everyone else is like, oh God, we got to wait around. How long do we have to wait around? Like, I just make the best of this
It's
thing.
going to go on
So,
TV.
so that's one way that I manage the downers. But I do have times when I wish I didn't have to like do what I need to do. I know I need to do it. I've been blogging since 2015. What is that? 18 years. And I try my best never to miss a week. And if it's like Thursday and I haven't written a blog post, I kind of beat myself up a little bit, and I try to get one out. And once in a while I'll miss. It's very rare. It might probably like 10 times in 18 years, but I'll miss every now and then. I don't let it bother me too much. And if I'm facing something that feels like it's giving me a little bit of stress, then I'll try to focus on something that I enjoy more for a few minutes and then come back to that other thing that maybe I don't really want to do so much. But those are pretty rare, to be honest with you. I tend to try to fill my calendar with the things I want to do rather than things I feel like I have to do.
I think it's like the bonus plan of creating a life that's fun is that the static can still be there from time to time, but it's harder for it to just show up kind of unannounced. It's like a more of a rare thing. So
I think so. And that I think that's right. And then, how can you make the best of static? It exists. It's part of life. We only have so much time in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year, in a lifetime. And do you really want to go down a negative path? So in this example of spending 3 hours sitting on the floor at Logan Airport, waiting for a plane to take off, how do you want to use those 3 hours? Do you want to use those 3 hours getting stressed and yelling at gate attendants? Do you want to spend those 3 hours reading a book? Do you want to spend those 3 hours like I did, or part of those 3 hours seeing if you can get yourself on television? And those are choices of how you spend that static time. And I think we have to be conscious of that those are choices. We choose how we want to make those moments be a part of our life.
I love it. The technique I kind of use that's similar is like, can I turn this into value for my people?
Yeah.
Can I turn my bad day or how I totally failed at something or something flopped and I'm not happy about it? Can I like talk to people about that and use that, even that as like a note of connection? And it's like, I just love that. You brought value while you were just sitting at the airport.
Yeah, right. And it was fun. And I had a story to tell. And the next day I spoke at Tony Robbins Business Mastery event, and it was a story I told. I said, hey, you just put content out there and the world comes to you. Here's what I did yesterday. So it turned into an example that I shared, and now I'm sharing it with you. So make use of those times. I mean, it's very rare in our life in this case where you get 3 hours uninterrupted to do something that you weren't expected to do.
Can you talk a little bit about timeline? Because yes, you create content, the world comes to you. You've spent years creating a platform so that when you create content, it's more likely that the world will come to you. So what about investing years in something that, the payoff might be down the road, especially if people are feeling maybe some scarcity around payoffs today?
So my first job was in the financial markets. I worked on a bond trading desk on Wall Street. I hated it, but I learned a lot about investing and money, and very much subscribe to the idea of portfolio management theory that says you need to be diverse. And you have some stocks, maybe some bonds, some alternative investments, some real estate. In my case, also some collectibles, and that eventually some go up, some go down, but eventually that does well for supporting your family. I believe that. I also believe the same thing to be true actually about a career. And I think the same thing is true about, as you ask, building content, is that if you think of it as a portfolio theory of, I'm going to create some blog posts and some videos and this and that and the other thing, over time, that portfolio of content exists online. It doesn't go away unless the platform you created on goes away. But if not, that it doesn't go away. You know, the several thousand blog posts that I've written for the past 18 years are still, to quote HubSpot, Brian at HubSpot, breadcrumbs that lead a trail directly to me. So I think of it much like this idea of investing is, you first get out of school, you don't have any money, maybe you have some debt. What's the point of investing? Well, the point of investing is that if you do it diligently and you invest wisely, you will never have a time that you're in need of money. And I believe the same thing is true in a career. Portfolio theory of a career, portfolio theory of content is that create that content when you can, keep doing it, and over time you build wealth of content.
You have a book called The Portfolio Theory of Content, David. I'm feeling a new book coming on.
I think I've done a couple of blog posts around that idea.
We'll find them and point to it because I think
it is an interesting idea for a book title. And I'm not going to write that book, but it is an interesting idea for a book title. And by the way, that's also what's gone through my mind a lot over the time that I was thinking about going out on my own. Because again, portfolio theory, if you have all of your wealth tied up into one stock and that company has a problem, you're in trouble. If you are only employed by one company, in other words, you have a traditional job. I'm not knocking traditional jobs. They're great. I've had them for myself for a long time. Many of my friends and family members do. But if you have a job, it means that you're tied to one organization. And if that organization, for whatever reason, goes away, like in my case, they fire you, you've got zero. And if you go out on your own and you have multiple revenue streams, in my case, I have online courses and books and speaking gigs and coaching, that if one client goes away or one book stops doing well, there's other sources of income coming in. And I think that's important for people to consider. And again, not knocking a corporate job, nothing wrong with it. I've done it myself. Many of my friends have done it, but
they don't listen to this podcast.
But yeah, maybe not.
Business owners.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. David, thank you so much.
Of course.
It's such a, we've really just learned so much from you in our time. And I hope everybody who listened today will go and check out David and his many books and all of his beautiful work that's all over the internet on any platform that you are on.
Yeah, there's a bit out there. I'm not on TikTok. I don't have my own podcast. I haven't done many YouTube videos recently. Can't do everything, but there is a bunch of stuff out there.
We'll point to all of it too in the show.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
again,
you so
David.
much.
My pleasure. Talk soon.